Uwe Boll. You've most likely heard of him. He's the director behind such marvellous projects as House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, and Far Cry. Oh, no, not the games. The movies. Oh dear God. Thankfully, I'm not talking about those. Because if I was, this entire video would be the sound of a rope and a creaking wooden beam. Instead, today, we're looking at a game based on an Uwe Boll film. No, you didn't cross into an alternate universe, unfortunately this exists. Folks, say hello to Tunnel Rats. Tunnel Rats is a first-person shooter developed back in 2009 for the PC by Replay Studios, a studio renowned for making meh games you've probably never heard of, and published by Boll AG, which appears to be Boll's movie company. Speaking of movies, with this game being based on a movie, to really get the full Tunnel Rats experience, I had to watch the film, and it's actually decent. It's not great, but it was made by Uwe Boll, just being watchable is an achievement for him. It focuses on the eponymous tunnel rats, soldiers in the Vietnam War sent to the many tunnel systems used by the Viet Cong to destroy them. To say this was a horrible job would be an understatement. From what I've read, the system was basically a full-on facility, with hospitals, storage facilities and barracks linked together by incredibly cramped, mostly pitch-black tunnels. Oh, and the whole thing was filled with traps and dead ends. Now the film, in my opinion, does a good job at showing how bad the tunnels were. When someone's down there, that person is pretty much all you're gonna see, apart from a little bit of dirt wall, and almost complete darkness. And when people start falling into traps, it happens shockingly fast, and is also shockingly graphic. My main complaint was that you didn't really get to know anyone before they started dying. With a war like Vietnam, I imagine they wouldn't have had the time to get to know each other either. So it works, I guess. So in summary, it's a dark, bloody, claustrophobic movie, and something I can't honestly believe was made by the mastermind behind Blubberella. It has its flaws, but what it set out to do, it did pretty well. And it's only like an hour and 30 minutes long, so if you can spare the time, I'd give it a look. The game, however... This fucking game. To say this starts poorly is an understatement. This game has one of the most poorly written, awfully made intros I've ever seen. It's just pictures with a filter on them. It's like someone's slideshow from their hardcore Vietnamese holiday, except some edgy teenager narrated over it.
Shut your hole, Ford. I wasn't cozy, just high. And I'm regretting it now, alright? All across the board.
All across the board, huh? Oh yeah, you tunnel boys like to get real deep, right? Like deep down in your own dark tunnel of the soul.
What? What are you talking about? How am I already confused? We're not even in the fucking game yet. I'm glad this helicopter crashes, so I never have to hear that shit again. The game proper starts with you waking up at the bottom of a pit in a POW camp as the only survivor of the crash. You're unarmed, you're behind enemy lines, and by God is that ugly. I don't usually talk about graphics, but wow. Remember, this was released in 2009, the same year as Arkham Asylum and Left 4 Dead 2. And this looks like it was built in baby's first-person shooter creator. It looks like a DOS game got haphazardly shoved into 3D. I mean, look behind those tree walls. There is nothing back there. The world just ends. This isn't a story about Nam. The universe is closing in on us. Oh no, wait. Never mind, this was just made by idiots. And it doesn't get any better when you get in the tunnels either. You see how dark and claustrophobic they are in the film? Yeah, well, let's just make them easy to traverse doing a fucking duck walk. And bright enough to explore without a flashlight. You've somehow taken horrifying nightmare tunnels and made them into a McDonald's play place, just with more angry Vietnamese. Not that you need to worry about those either, because I've seen fruit flies with more survival instinct and combat expertise than this AI. If the enemy has a knife, they'll just limply crouch walk towards you to give you a poke, making no attempt to ambush you or hide in any way. Their knives don't even do that much damage, so a one-on-one fight just amounts to these impotent slap fights, where you both just poke each other until one of you falls asleep. It's even sillier later on when you have a gun, then I just kind of feel bad.
ほう、向かってくるのか。
Not that having a gun helps the AI, because if the firearms in this game did any less damage, I'd swear they're endorsed by Nerf. Hell, it's silly we even get to big gunfights in this game in the first place. You'd think a game about one poorly armed soldier trying to push through enemy lines would be a, say, survival horror-esque affair. Or, you know, a stealth game, like that one you made a month before this game. Instead, it's just poor man's Call of Duty, with the dumbest AI I've seen and the worst guns I've used in any game. They all sound and feel so piss weak. Even the heavy machine gun, which is amazing since fucking Legendary got that shit right and that came out a year previous. It's not like you'll be using half the guns anyway. The pistols would be more powerful if you just pointed your finger at them and went pew pew, and if you use anything other than the AK, you'll run out of ammo fast. Almost all enemies use that gun, yet the game keeps trying to get you to use the M16, which has less ammo per mag than the AK, and will run out of ammo before you get to the next tunnel containing one, so what's the point? And while I love the Garand in just about any game, it once again has fuck all ammo, so why would I use it? Apart from fulfilling my urge to die. While we're on the subject of dying, there are traps in this game, but wow, are they a fucking joke. The only problems you're going to have with them are either A, the game blinded you in front of a trapdoor, or B, you got confused by the buttons on a grenade trap because they kind of look like 360 buttons. And then you press L, but you blow up anyway because the game meant the left mouse button, which it never tells you, expecting you to be bloody psychic. And what? I just... You want to know how to stop a trapdoor? Press F twice. Thrilling. Well, if your objective was to ruin my socks, you've succeeded. The game also places punji traps around the outside world, but you can navigate them by either just not stepping on the stupidly obvious mats, or by looking down your gun sight. How staring through a gun sight renders sharpened bamboo ineffective, I do not know, but I'm beginning to think I lack the sufficient brain damage to make sense of most of the decisions in this game. You've probably noticed I haven't said much about the story, and that's because it barely exists. Your whole objective is to find a way out of Nam, but along the way, as the attempts prove fruitless, Brooks is supposed to have a slow descent into madness. Instead, what we get is a man who starts off bipolar and ends about the same, with slightly more racial slurs. I mean, one of the first things this game tells you to do is take the dog tags off of fallen soldiers, which is fine, I guess, and take the ears off dead Viet Cong as trophies. You know, like in Universal Soldier, which, last time I checked, was something the villain did. The game rewards you for this by adding more blocks to a health bar, but I was full up long before I got to this game's 8th level. Yeah, 8 levels. If you hate yourself, you could bang this out in like an hour and a half. But frankly, spending an hour with Brooks is like having your balls massaged by lemon-coated punji sticks. The best character development they could give him is he has a girlfriend at home and has daddy issues. And they establish all this with the worst cutscenes I have ever seen. You're just crawling through a tunnel when suddenly, freedom! Not only are these ugly as fuck, but you can't see at all while they're playing. So you have to just stand there for God knows how long or risk going ass first into a trapdoor. I'd put up with it a lot more if Brooks was at least interesting, but all he does is whine. Oh, and says shit like this.
Don't panic. You'll get out of here. God will protect you.
You can't even feel sorry for him, because while 1 minute he's wondering if he's in the right killing all these people, 2 seconds later he's out here going for the high score, taking ears and eating bullets like he's the Terminator. Even the weird zombie soldier you fight can't make a dent. Oh yeah, you fight some cannibal guy? He's just been hanging around in the jungle with a machete and somehow hasn't been shot by the VC. The game tries to make you second guess whether he was real or not, but later on you find a tunnel full of dead VC where you drop into a small hole and, oh look, his bullets hurt, so he's real. We've got zombies in Vietnam. Thankfully only one, or else this would go full-on shell shock too, and then I would shoot myself. I would do that in this game, but by the time I got to the end, I had over 20 medkits, and God knows how many dog tags and ears. It would probably just bounce off. Hell, by the time Brooks gets napalmed, don't bitch about spoilers, you aren't playing this. Brooks must look like an amorphous blob, made up of health kits, dog tags and ears, holding an AK, screaming in some unknown language. He could have taken that bomb to the face and walked it off like it was nothing. You know what isn't nothing? You know what made me want to drink until I stopped feeling? The fucking bugs. This game just straight up doesn't want you playing it. This game wouldn't even launch until I installed some really fucking old drivers, and even then it still crashed a few times. The maps have more seams than fucking papercraft. The flamethrower leaves its fire trail effect behind every time you use it. Switching from the flamethrower to the machine gun locks your guns and won't let you shoot. And the real kicker, The cherry on top of this shit sundae, the grenades. They just don't work. And I don't mean they just didn't work for a little bit. I mean the whole game. The throwing animation will play, but nothing will happen. They aren't even duds, you're just throwing air. And it's not even just the handheld grenades. I never once got the grenade launcher to work. It just straight up doesn't fire. I almost died on the final fight, if you want to call it that, because I stupidly forgot I had the damn thing. It's just... how? Why? Is this my punishment? Because fuck it, I'll take the whipping next time. So this video is way less in depth than my usual videos, but come on, are you seeing this shit? It's a joke. What's left to talk about? The only interesting info I could find was that this was originally going to be released on the 360 as well as the PC, but they wisely abandoned that when the PC version sold like anthrax-laced feces. Don't even ask if you should play this game. If you're even thinking that, you need to get your shit together. You could play anything else. There are very few games worse than this. I'm not joking when I say this is right to hell bad. Before that game even existed, its gunplay is weak, its graphics are somehow worse than a few DOS games, its story is all over the place, and it's laughably broken. Your time is worth more than this, even if you spend most of your days huffing shit out of a bottle.
I'm regretting it now, alright? All across the board.